Welcome everybody, Herr Blauti here. In this video I will present to you the multiplayer balance changes of the latest patch 1.1.0 of Company of Heroes 3 and what impacts we are about to expect for our gameplay in the future. And in this video I won't talk about the in-game shop because I'm no business administrator and I think I should not talk about that. However, we will talk about the balance changes because we know something about that, and with that let's start with the first change, which are the infantry and mortar flares. So they changed the mortar and infantry flare duration, which was decreased from 30 to 15 seconds. And I think that's a good change actually, because it's a nerf for the pathfinders, I guess, because now their sight duration of their flares is obviously decreased. However, they nerfed the mortar flares at the same time, and I'm not quite sure whether that is a good idea. Let's see. I mean, I already played some matches, however that is not something I checked out in detail, so let's see. Let's go ahead to the loiters, because I think that's more important here. Loiters were clearly overtuned across the board, being very oppressive and offering little counterplay. We have toned down these abilities so that their impact is more appropriate for their costs. Sounds good. And we see that the British anti-tank rocket loiter is more expensive now, so the munition cost was increased from 120 to 180 ammunitions, not few ammunitions, and the damage was reduced by half. Okay, that's huge. And the rocket count was reduced from 6 to 5 per pass. Okay, that's hard to imagine actually. However, I think that this is maybe even a little bit too much. We'll see that. The Wehrmacht Luftwaffe also was nerfed, so the damage was decreased from 30 to 20. Anti-tank loiter damage against vehicles from 50 to 25, so by half reduced, so that's nice. Stuka anti-tank loiter rate of fire from 15 to 12. Okay. Sounds good. Afrika Korps armor support anti-tank loiter was buffed. Munition cost reduced from 225 to 180. That is a change that I really appreciate very much, because I always thought when you are playing the DAK and you try to play them off meta, then you regularly wanted to use the anti-tank loiter, and it appeared to be quite weak compared to all the other loiters, because it was on the one hand not just dealing as much damage as the other loiters were doing or dealing, and on the other hand it was just more expensive. And I always thought, why is that actually? I think that's a good change, and I think now maybe this loiter is quite in the right spot. Let's see. The US Forces Airborne Reinforcements loiter, okay, it was incredibly nerfed. So let's start with the biggest nerf, I guess, which is the munition cost, which is increased from 80 to 150 munition. I think that's maybe a little bit too much, especially as we see the other changes. So the maximum number of reinforced entities from infinite to 12 to 15 total. So that's, I think, a welcome change, because we all remember the decrewed anti-tank weapon, for instance, and the models were constantly dropping from the air and recrewing the anti-tank weapon. You weren't actually able to fully decrew the anti-tank weapon, for instance, or mortar or whatever. Yeah, because it just wouldn't die due to this ability. Now that's fixed. And they also fixed the ability reinforcement to full strength even after the ability was over. Yeah, okay. That mostly likely was just a bug. They fixed that, nice. Reinforce rate dramatically reduced to one model replaced every 4 seconds. Okay, so actually this loiter is incredibly hardly nerfed. I don't think that this is that a good idea. I mean, it's having an area of effect on the one hand, and on the other side, yeah, it's so incredibly expensive now, and you would like to provide your army with weapon upgrades and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's too much. You can't afford that in the future, I guess. Well, let's go on the general changes for the US forces. So the engineer squads. Light it up veterancy ability can now be used without a flamethrower. Cost 30 munitions without flamethrower upgrade. Why not? I think that's okay. Hard to judge whether that's good or not. Actually, it's a buff for the US forces. And I think it's cool because now we see the Pathfinders nerf, hopefully. Yes, it is. We have found that the Pathfinders provide too much momentum and utility in the early game, allowing Paths to rush out the overperforming Sherman 76mm tanks. We have made adjustments to make this build less oppressive and will be closely monitoring this strategy. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and in the first place I was wondering why they even did that, because it was so obvious that this would overperform. If I would have been the game designer, I guess I wouldn't have been doing that actually. However, now they fixed it, and I think it's a good fix. The build time is increased from 25 to 33. Yeah, that's good. Flareability range decreased from 50 to 40. I think that is unnecessary, even with the nerf of the flares we saw earlier. Now have access to the utility package. Yeah, and that's now the important step. Flares, rifle, smoke grenades and rifle grenades now all require the utility package. I think that's huge, and that is most likely the best change of the entire patch. I think they were doing a great job with this idea over here. Reinforcement cost increased from 25 to 30 manpower. That's huge as well. So a huge nerf. Smoke rifle grenade recharge time increased from 120 to 180 seconds. I think that's a good change as well, because this constantly, the US Force players playing the Pathfinder spam and constantly decapping your cutoffs and just smoking the cutoffs and camping there was incredibly annoying, and the most cheesy play despite from the pizza tank spam, I guess, lately, so good change. Upkeep per population increased from 1 to 1.25 manpower per minute. Yeah, okay. So Pathfinders are now significantly more expensive. They are weaker, and I think it's a good change. I think they could still be playable, especially paired with the sniper and the flak half track. However, they are not the ultimate all-rounders in the game now that they were before. I mean, they were able to fight, not even that badly, because they're just coming in tremendous numbers. They were able to provide reconnaissance, which was incredibly strong. Were able to smoke and keep the cutoffs. Yeah, they had the grenades, which were really strong. So yeah, I think the Pathfinder exchange is really good. Scouts build time increased from 25 to 33 seconds, so that's also nerfing the Pathfinders. We saw that over here, so I think that's a good change, obviously. The 76mm Sherman AoE damage dropped off, reduced to Sherman 75mm levels. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they're dealing more damage, and the drop-off now is the same. Okay, why not? I mean, we need to see whether that's a good change. AoE model damage cap decreased from 4 to 3. Yeah, that's good. That's good because the 76mm Sherman was really overperforming against infantry especially. Yeah, because they were just shredding them. Afrika Korps. The Karo Amato light tank was too efficient for its timing and cost. Ah, say what? Combined with a powerful veterancy ability and bugged ability, the M1340 scaled to a point it could outcompete higher tier tanks. The following changes tone these factors down. AP rounds penetration bonus from +90 to +33%. That's really important, because actually the pizza tanks were able to kill everything. They were able to kill fully upgraded Shermans. They were able to kill the Hellcats. They were able to kill Churchills. Yeah, even Churchill Black Prince was no match for the pizza tanks. So, yeah, that's a really welcome change. Fuel cost increased from 45 to 50. I think, okay, that's maybe, yeah. Is that enough? I don't think that will have that a big impact actually. Maybe 55 would have been better, I guess. Italian Vanguard reload bonuses per nearby Italian units from -10 to -5%. Which results in a reload bonus maxes out at -25% or 5 units. Okay, so that means that you now, when you're having 5 pizza tanks, the reload bonus will be at -25% at max. Before it was -50%. Yeah. I think it's okay. I didn't even consider this ability to be the strongest factor of the pizza tanks. However, between the lines it was certainly quite strong, so I think it's a good change. And the main weapon rate of fire decreased from 3.5 or 3.2 respectively to 3.45 and 4.1.2. 4.125. Sorry. Okay, so it's a little bit slower. That's nice. Actually, now let's sum everything up a little bit. I think, and we obviously start with the pizza tanks, I think the pizza tanks, they got nerfed. However, the nerf of the pizza tank was really, really light actually. I don't think that the pizza tank spam won't be meta in the future. Which means that it will be meta actually. I think pizza tank spam paired with or let's sum it up. So the meta play for the Afrika Korps used to be to do a pioneer spam, upgrade them with flamers or the grenade throwers respectively, and do that into a 8-Rad armored car into pizza tanks. And if your enemy was building armor that actually was able to compete with the pizza tanks in time, they were paired up with the Marder 3, which is, I think, one of the best tank destroyers in the game actually. Yeah, and that was pretty much everything you needed to do with the Afrika Korps. So your entire build relied on pretty much 2 or 3 units, which is incredibly cheesy because it's so easy to play actually. And I think nothing happened to the engineers or the pioneers of the Afrika Korps, so I think it still will be meta to just spam the engineers with the Afrika Korps, go into 8-Rad armored cars, and then yeah, maybe just instantly some Marders, or still you could pair them up with the pizza tanks, because I think the pizza tanks are still good enough to play them, or to abuse them, let's say. I mean, you can play everything, however, the pizza tanks still will overperform, I guess. Yeah. Even though, or not even though, but even with the upgrades of your upgrade center. So yeah, I think that will be the meta we will see in the future. Let's go to the US forces. So I think the US forces meta play obviously was performing a Pathfinder spam, and I think this meta pretty much was shut down by now, because the Pathfinders are more expensive, they are not as strong as they used to be, and I think now the meta was based on the airborne battle group, and I think now the upcoming meta will still be based on the airborne battle group, because I think it's by far the most by far the strongest battle group of the US forces. Why is that? That is, you don't need to play the Pathfinder spam, even though even when you are playing the a rifleman build. The battle group still is really strong because it enables you to skip the T2 and T3 and still have the most impactful units out of these buildings. So you are able to build an MG, and the MG drop-off was buffed in one of the previous patches, so now it just costs 250 manpower. And you're also able to build an anti-tank gun, or to drop off an anti-tank gun. So that are maybe the most important units of the T2 and T3 of the US forces when you are going for a rifleman build. And yeah, you are now still able to do that for reasonable costs, and you also get access to the paratroopers, and you can upgrade them with the Zooks. So I think the upcoming meta for the US forces will be to just build or to just go for riflemen. Maybe, yeah, let's say, I could imagine that it would be most efficient to go for 3 or 4 riflemen. Now maybe 3 riflemen, then for 2 paratroopers, upgrading them with the Zooks. Get your riflemen the bars upgrade and the grenades upgrade. And then if you need it, you could mix in an MG using the MG drop. And then if you need it, because maybe your enemy is highly relying on armor, then you can drop off your anti-tank gun and just skip everything and stall instantly for the Shermans. And that is pretty much the same as it was before the patch. So I think that will be the new meta for the US forces, and somehow it's still the old meta because you still want to play the airborne battle group. I think they have to tune that down a little bit, or yeah, let's say fix it in regards with the other fractions. So now for Wehrmacht. I mean, I think Wehrmacht still is the weakest fraction if you're playing it off meta, and even if you are playing meta, which currently still is the Luftwaffe battle group, or the how is it called? The battle group where you can choose the MP40 and the Tiger and stuff like that. These are the 2 metas that were played using the Wehrmacht, and I think the stronger choice is actually using the breakthrough battle group with the MP40. So for Wehrmacht nothing changed actually, so I think still the upcoming meta for Wehrmacht will be to just spam Grenadiers, upgrade them with the MP40, and then go for the Jägers with Schrecks into Panzer IV. So actually for Wehrmacht you are just about to play 3 units. Yeah, basically 3. You need the Grenadiers, you need the Jägers with Schrecks, and the Grenadiers with MP40 and the P4. That's everything you need, I guess, to, yeah, at least reach rank 100 or something like that. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead with the DIK. I mean, we already talked about the DIK. I think still the meta play for DIK will be to just spam the Pioneers, upgrade them with the Flamers or the grenade launchers, respectively, and then rush to 1 or 2 Achter armored cars, and then into Mardas or pizza tanks. Don't forget to get all the upgrades, of course, and then you'll be fine, I guess. Yeah, and for the British forces, actually, yeah, there are several different meters. Actually, you could perform just a Pioneer spam, which is surprisingly very strong. Because, yeah, I mean, the British forces Zeppers were just more powerful than most other mainline infantry units in the game. Especially close range, obviously, and they just cost 200 manpower, so they are incredibly strong. Never mess with British Zeppers. So if you see a British Zepper spam, then yeah, be careful. So the other meta, or the meta that is played on top of this, actually, of course, is playing the section spam and upgrade them with the boys rifles. This is still incredibly powerful, and I think if you play like 4 or 5 sections, one is upgrade with the scopes, for instance, to get access to the artillery, and the rest is just upgrade with boys rifles. Then you shall be fine playing against anything, actually, no matter whether you play against the DAK or the Wehrmacht. I think it's a reliable build. And after that, you want to, depending on how the match is going, either rush for the Stuarts, obviously, because they're pretty strong at the moment, or even better, rush for the Crusader medium tanks, because they are just outperforming, yeah, most of the Axis tanks at the moment. Yeah, so even especially with the upgrade, the 50 pounder, was it the 50 pounder actually? No, I think it's a diddle pounder, a gun of the Crusader tank, which is increasing their fighting capabilities. So to sum it up, I think that this patch was a step in the right direction. However, I guess we will see pretty much the same as we were seeing before. And now I would like to point out that I'm just uploading this video right now because I wanted to test out some of the changes of the patch before. And I played all the fractions, so I predominantly focused on the US forces because I thought they are most interesting at the moment, because for me the US forces were more or less the best balanced fraction. If we are not playing the Pathfinder spam before the patch, obviously. And I think that is still correct, I guess. I think US forces are still in a good spot. Yeah, thus I tested out them. And I have to say that the Pathfinder spam felt a little bit weak at the moment. I was not that a fan of the Pathfinder spam. I never was. However, now it feels even a little bit weak. I was not a fan before because it was just super overpowered and super powerful, don't get me wrong. Now I'm not a fan because it's a little bit too weak. I mean, it enables you to play a sniper, and I'm a huge fan of snipers. Most of you will know that. However, yeah, I think it's not the way to go for with US forces. I think the rifleman's play is a little bit better, or a little bit more fun actually, because they are able to snare and stuff like that. So yeah. However, what I wanted to say is that I faced a DAK pizza tank spam, and I thought, okay, it got nerfed, maybe we can stand it now without rushing the DAK player. And I had to face that it was not easy, let's say. So I think the pizza tank spam still is incredibly strong, and I think it's still overperforming, especially against the US forces. I think the British forces are able to deal with the pizza tank spam pretty well, because I think the British forces are the strongest faction at the moment. They still are, even though we are not playing meta cheese. And yeah, with that, let's come to the British forces. I mean, yeah, the British forces, they are the only faction, I guess, that are not in need of relying on meta cheese. They are strong even without meta. On the one hand, that's great. On the other hand, that's a little bit sad, because, I mean, yeah, it's just not that funny to play them, or to play overperforming stuff or fractions generally. And I checked them out as well, and I still felt like they are incredibly strong. Sorry for bumping my mic. Let's take a quick look at my stats at the moment. So, as we can see over here, the British forces, even though I was not abusing the meta plays, is still the strongest faction for me. I hit rank 83. It was even better recently. So I think this shows us that the British forces are the strongest faction at the moment, even though we are not playing meta cheese. The DAK, I think, is the weakest fraction actually. If you are not playing meta cheese, which is basically spamming these engineers and stuff like that. But if you are trying to build reasonable build, let's say, in the future, like for instance going for one additional engineer maybe, and then for maybe like 2 or 3 panzer grenadiers, which are then supposed to be your mainline infantry, and then for maybe the anti-tank call-in, that's fine, I guess, or on the anti-inf call-in, depending on the situation. Then for maybe 1 8-Grad armored car, 1 or 2 Marders into P3s. I think that should be the build in the future, because it sounds most reasonable. If you are doing that, then you will not be having a good time with the DAK, because the Panzer Grenadiers are underperforming severely to my mind. And yeah, the 8-Grad armored car, even though it's overperforming, it's not able to carry your play if you're just playing one of them. So yeah, I think the DAK is the weakest fraction without playing meta cheese. The US forces are, as I said, in a good spot, I guess. So if you are not heavily relying on meta play, you are still able to play the US forces and are able to have fun actually. So that's good. And Wehrmacht, yeah, Wehrmacht is a little bit yeah, difficult, because I mean, as I said, the meta is to just either spam the Luftwaffe company piles into Jägers with Schrecks and then Panzer IV, or you go for the Grenadier spam with MP40 and then into the Jäger with Schrecks and then P4. And I have to admit that I indeed went for the T2, so I also built the Jägers with Schrecks. However, not all the time. Sometimes, especially when I was playing against the UK forces, I was playing a sniper. And now some people would say, oh, but the Wehrmacht sniper is so weak because it's shooting that slowly and stuff like that. And actually that's true, it's underperforming in comparison to the US versus sniper. However, I think the Wehrmacht sniper still is fun to play. And against the British forces, when you are planting mines, which is super important because the British forces players are most likely about to go for a dingo to counter your sniper early on. And when you're planting some smart mines, then the dingo will be hitting a mine and die to them. And your sniper will just go on having fun. So I think, yeah, that was something I was playing. Like 3 Grens with a sniper, 1 or 2 Pioneers, Panzer Grenadiers with 2 anti-tank guns, and then going for the Panzer IV. That was more or less one of the builds I was using to reach that rank. And I think, yeah, I really believe that was off meta, even though sometimes I was playing the T2 and the Jägers with Rex, especially against the DAK, especially when they were performing with pizza tank spam, because then you just need that to survive. And yeah, still I think the former build I just mentioned was the prevailing build for me when I was playing Wehrmacht, and it enables me to hit rank 162, yeah, even without abusing meta cheese. Yeah, and I think with that, I pointed out that, I mean, the patch will lead to us having a little bit more different options to go for, actually. Still, I think there will be more or less 4 or 5 meta plays for all fractions altogether. Yeah, that's a little bit sad. Maybe, oh, I forgot to mention the Gustadori strat for the DAK, because unfortunately they didn't fix the booby trap abuse with the Gustadori battle group. Yeah, that's sad. That's also something you will see from time to time. Yeah, however, let's just ignore that. even more cheesy than the pizza tank spam, I guess. Well, so yeah, I think that's everything I could say about the patch. Still, we will see just a few meta plays, unfortunately. However, I think after the patch now, it's a little bit more enjoyable to play off meta, actually, because against US forces, you won't just see the Pathfinder spam every single game, and against the DAK, you won't see the Karuamato spam every single game. And this is an improvement, I guess. So, yeah, a step in the right direction, I guess. So let's honor the devs for that. And yeah, let's look forward for the future of Company of Heroes 3 with that. And yeah, with that, let's say, maybe not GG well played and good time, but good time this time. See you.